We are very excited about today's show. And before we begin, we got Jessie Ledoux with our product feature of the week. Jessie, tell us what you got for us.
Hey, Stephen. So summer is winding down, which means a ton of pageants are wrapping up. So odds are you're listening, you are looking for your next title, or you just received your new title. So if you just received your new title, congratulations. If you're aiming for your next one, you're going to have a lot of appearances to do yourself while you prepare. So one thing that's great for new title holders and aspiring title holders alike is our customized pageant autograph pad.
Okay, so what's the importance of having an autograph pad in the first place?
Well, the importance is huge, really, because anywhere you go or you do an appearance, you're going to meet people that you have connection with. And that connection either occurs with them just being starstruck and can't believe they meet you, or you have a great conversation, or they're a potential sponsor or a current sponsor you want to thank. So that autograph card is going to be so valuable in building relationships and creating a reputation in your community and beyond. So always having one with you to be able to sign and leave behind is just the quickest and easiest way to leave a great impression and pave the way for great relationships.
That's great. Okay, so tell us some about the customized autograph pad that ours delivers.
Yes, they're a great size. They're 5.5 by 6 inches, and there's 40 custom pages. So you send us the image you want to use. We jazz it up. We put your title on there, logos of your pageant if you'd like, and it's in full color, so it's really, really sharp. Our marketing team will work with you to make sure your photo is the quality and the type that we need. And it's tearaway, so it fits probably in any crown box or purse that you have. And then you just have to bring it along with you everywhere you go. So send us the image. It ships within 7 to 10 days, so you'll get it really quickly, and it's free shipping, and it's printed on every page, and it has a nice cardboard backing, so you don't have to worry about the pages like getting crinkled or messy or anything. It'll stay really nice and really pristine as long as you have it.
Okay, and what's the cost, and how can they find it?
So they can find it by visiting shop.pageantplanet.com, and the cost is $24.99. And again, that's 40 pages, and I think some of them might give you Baker's dozen pages where you get extra that are not accounted for in that 40. I think Miss Captivating said that she felt like she had a ton more. So no promises there, but still $25 to leave a lasting impression with a great image of yourself, tearaway, convenient. It's a no-brainer.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Jessie.
Welcome to Pageant Planet's podcast, where we share stories and strategies to help expand and connect the global pageant community. Visit pageantplanet.com to find pageants, hire coaches, shop for dresses, and more. Now, here's your host, Stephen Roddy.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode. Today, Jessie and myself, we are going to be discussing the life of Pia Wurtzbach. So, Jessie, set the stage.
Well, Stephen, we know the road to the crown can be anything but traditional. And despite all the preparation in the world, things might still not go as planned. And as a title holder, you will find that things rarely go off without a hitch. That means you have to be flexible, but you can't forget your ultimate goal.
Yeah, and no one knows that better than Pia, who endured the ultimate, pageantry glitch with Steve Harvey.
Stephen, when's the last time something in your life went exactly as planned?
I'd like to say never, unless it's even a day off, right? Even when you take days off, there's always something oh, maybe I should do something else spontaneous. When you're just thinking around I'm just going to lay here and watch Netflix all day, or I'm just going to totally unwind. Even something then spontaneous will happen throughout the day. You get a phone call, a text, or whatever that you just didn't necessarily anticipate. Mm-hmm. And I remember reading this thing about the Apollo the rocket or whatever that went to the moon. And their journey to the moon, they were off course 97% of the time.
Wow.
They were off course. So they always had to make, I remember reading this years ago in the personal development book, but they had to make these minor course corrections all throughout their journey. And they were actually only on course. So that leaves 3% of the time. So, which is actually quite comforting for me as just a human, that you don't have to have everything figured out from the jump. You can course correct along the way and still, end up on the moon.
Literally not rocket science.
Indeed. What about you?
Well, so I have a really funny example of how things don't go according to plan. Mm-hmm. So I eat oatmeal every morning at work. So I go to work, and then there's a Keurig and a microwave. So I put the oatmeal in the microwave for a minute. Like, so it says put it in for a minute. So I followed the directions the first time around. So this should be no problem. I hit my coffee in the Keurig, and they take about the same time. So perfect. So I'm like chatting with a coworker. The bell goes off my oatmeal, and it is everywhere. So
just
clearly
blew up.
it isn't gonna be what we want it to be. So now I am. First of all, I'm embarrassed. Second of all, I'm cleaning. Like, there's not enough things to do in the day. I have to now clean this microwave, and I look like a fool. So now I know I set it for 45 seconds, and then I have to watch it the whole time and stop it, sometimes stir it in between. So it's adaptation. Like, you try things, they're supposed to be exactly as planned. They make a mess literally and figuratively sometimes, and then you have to adjust based on, okay, what is the finding? What was the problem? How do I fix it? So it's a silly example, but it is a real one.
Yeah, no, agreed. And you said oatmeal, and I have, to me, kind of a gross oatmeal story.
Lord.
So I make oatmeal, not every morning, but in the past, I used to make a lot more, actually, before this event. And so I made my oatmeal like normal, microwave, all that, and, the oats, and I take a few bites of it, whatever. And then all of a sudden, like, I could feel a hair wrapped all the way around my tongue. No. So, and then, oatmeal is kind of like pasty or whatever. And then you go kind of like grabbing it with your fingers. And Renata's hair just goes everywhere.
Mine too. Yeah.
And I'm just like, how did your hair get in the oatmeal? And like, how did I not see it when I was scooping it out? How did I not see it when I was scooping it with a spoon? All that stuff. But yeah, sometimes life just doesn't go as planned. You get hair in your oatmeal. Oh, it was so gross. So
it's
gross.
like the new fly in the ointment. It's like worse than that.
Very bad. God. All right, so back to Pia. Things don't always go like, you want them to, especially in Pia's case. But so Pia... Angela Alonzo Wurtzbach. She was born on September the 24th, 1989, and is a Filipina-German model, actress, and former beauty pageant title holder who was crowned Miss Universe 2015. And
she's beloved, really. I mean, when we put out the word that we were having this podcast, we got an outpouring of love and support for her. And this is from Alexis T. Theou, I think her name is, but it's Alexis T. Thao. Stephen, you want to read what she said?
Yeah, she said, Pia is by far my favorite Miss Universe. She has such a lively personality that is so contagious, you can't help but to love her. Pia constantly remains a humble queen with a kind heart for everyone around her, as well as the universe. She is real and unapologetically herself, and that's what I admire so much about her. And I can attest to the fan base. Like, I remember... we toyed with reviews or whatnot on Facebook, and we just did a news article of how Pia might know some of the contestants that's competing, and she was it's a judge, and it wasn't even a bashing article. It was just hey, she might is as a conflict just to start conversation. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, we got 13 one-star reviews just because we did that. Our ranking went from a 5-star to it was a 3. I was like, what happened? And it was just because we somewhat said something negative, and it was people that's never used our service before or anything. But we wrote a news article that was slightly controversial about Pia, and we got all those negative reviews. So it was okay, reviews do not work for our platform because
we gotta think of so Beyonce has the Bayhive. We got to think of what the Pia fan base is called. I feel like it's real. Yeah,
it's a real thing. And I would say just the Filipino culture as a whole, if you speak anything that's somewhat, if you say something that's neutral or less, you better be prepared for a fight. And
they love their queens. They really do.
And I think that's so awesome that they're that supportive and they just stand behind their queens. It doesn't matter. And they have the most passionate fan base in the world.
They do.
Yep.
Well, honestly, interestingly enough, Pia is not, as we know, completely Filipino. She's not 100% Filipino. She was born in Stuttgart, Germany, to a German father and Filipino mother. And her middle name, Alonzo, is her mother's maiden name, which is actually pretty traditional to the naming practice of the Philippines, which my best friend is Filipino. And her middle name was her mother's maiden name.
Yeah, Renata's is too. Yeah, Renata's is too.
I love that. And so she and her family moved to the Philippines when she was a small child. And they later moved again to the country's northern Mindanao region.
Yeah.
Mindanao region.
Yeah, and all the disclaimers. We're trying our best here.
Yeah.
According
as
to,
always.
Yeah, as always. Yeah. According to E! News, Pia, she was a shy child. She said, Pia had this to say about herself. She said, "At school, I was a wallflower. I was always the last person in our flag ceremony. Q, because I was the tallest in the class, and it was difficult to have a crush because you're too tall for the boy." And I know that's true when the girls that I went to school with, that their growth spurt hit before everyone else's, they were always single until the guys caught up, just the way that it was. And
I see a lot of our taller VIP contestants or clients that we've worked with. And if I look at their Instagram, they're constantly hunching in pictures like with their friends because they're just so uncomfortable, like standing out. And like, I'm just saying, like, tall girls become models and can wear more comfortable shoes. So like, who's really winning here? So embrace your height.
Right. And, and I feel like this could be a coaching moment for a few fold. One, just to state like what statistics are out there. Statistically, if a guy is the first one to hit his growth spurt, they typically have higher self-esteem, because, tall, dark, and handsome. But when women hit their growth spurt before everyone else, they have just resting self-esteem is traditionally lower for that same reason, because people get poked fun at. Boys at that age are feeling insecure because the girls are taller than them. And then, people or kids that we say can sometimes be the worst because they just don't know. And, they can make fun, which can obviously have a negative impact on self-esteem. So a coaching moment is one, just realizing that, give your, third or fourth grade self some grace. You had no control over your growth spurt. And then just like owning that fact, like what you said, like make the best of your height. I mean, women want height. I mean, it's great. It helps you spread weight more evenly. There's just a lot of benefits. But two, with the slouching thing, never slouch. When you're talking in front of a microphone, and if the microphone is down to your knees, don't bend down to the microphone. If you have the opportunity to slide the microphone up, slide the microphone up. If not, you just stand tall and proud and shout if you have to, but you never slouch your shoulders in order to stoop to the microphone.
Exactly. And if you're slouching in these casual pictures with your friends at school, odds are that habit's carrying over to the pageant stage, and it's just going to kind of happen when you get nervous. Your shoulders are going to start to crunch up anyway. So you have to make sure you're practicing that great posture all the time.
Yep. So at the age of 9, Pia's parents were separated, and then she became actually the family's main breadwinner through like modeling and acting. And I feel like this is kind of a familiar tale for a lot of the international queens that we've been hearing about as of recent.
Yeah, I think Catriona, the current Miss Universe, was also a breadwinner for her family through modeling and acting. Does that sound familiar, Stephen?
Yeah, I remember hearing the same thing. And it could be just like a Filipino cultural thing where, I mean, to put it in perspective, because we did look to hire some people in the Philippines and all that. I mean, the minimum wage there for some people is like $2 an hour. I'm not saying that that's the $2 per hour. So it is a lot lower than what's like typical with you might find in Europe or in the United States and Canada. So if you get a modeling and acting job like that, it could be really significant for the family, as we probably see here.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So she finished her secondary education at ABS-CBN Distance Learning Center in Philippines, and studied culinary arts at the Center for Asian Culinary Studies in San Juan. Is it Manila? Manila. Gosh, I messed that up a few episodes ago too, but it's Manila. But when I actually go to the Philippines, I know I'm going to get that right. So Manila.
You are going to get it right.
Yes, I am.
You're going to get that. What's that app? Babbel, and you're going to be like an expert in all sorts of.
You just speak it, and I just receive it that it's going to happen. Absolutely.
Yes. So after being raised in the Philippines, she spent several years in England. As a result, she, unlike Stephen and I, speaks fluent Cebuano, English, Tagalog. She also speaks basic German, which I love this. She describes her German abilities as she can speak enough to get herself a bratwurst.
I love that.
Me too.
Pia began acting at the age of 4 under the stage name Pia Romero, and she was managed by ABS-CBN Corporation's talent agency, Star Magic, and she was included on the Star Circle Batch 11. Among her TV credits are the TV-oriented series K2BU, the concert variety program ASAP, the romance anthology Your Song, the sitcom show Bora, and the drama series Sa Piling Mo. Saw Pilling Mo. She appeared in films like All My Life in 2004 and All About Love in 2006. It's amazing to me, right? Like, again, I know we've covered this with Catriona a few episodes ago, but here are individuals who have the stardom and then they go and compete in pageants. So when people say pageantry isn't relevant, you have to show them stories like this. Like, here's somebody that was already famous, already the breadwinner, and they still saw pageantry as an opportunity to up their game. That's awesome. Beautiful.
It is. And she went on from all that experience to become a stylist, a makeup artist, and beauty writer for Philippine Daily Inquirer's 2BU section. And during this time, she started to chase another dream. And that was, like you said, Stephen, becoming Miss Universe. She saw value and she went for it. And in 2013, she was selected to compete in the 2013 Bini Bining Filipinas pageant for the first time.
Yeah, she's not ambitious at all.
At all.
The Binging Binging Filipinas is a national beauty pageant in the Philippines that selects Filipino representatives to compete in 2 of the big 4 major international beauty pageants, Miss Universe and Miss International. It also selects 4 other title holders to participate in minor international pageants, such as Miss Supernatural, Miss Intercontinental, Miss Globe, and Miss Grand International.
I don't know how minor those are, but we discussed a really similar situation with Priyanka Chopra in India last week, the week before, and they also do that. So I think it's really interesting that we see this trend in a lot of our international competitors, I guess. Like, so the US we know as separates everything by system, whereas a lot of other countries do this very streamlined. And the pageant we discussed just now, Bini Bini Filipinas, they crown all of those people, the 4 major pageants, and then the 4 other pageants, which I won't call them minor, and then 2 runners up. So all those queens and then 2 runners up.
Yeah. And in 2013, the pageant was named Binging Binging Bini Binging Filipinas Gold to highlight the 50th anniversary of the pageant. And Pia was one of the 50 contestants that year. And on her first try, Pia, she didn't take home the title, but she placed first runner-up. And she won the Miss San Miguel Zero Fit and Sexy Body Award. Like, I don't know. In United States, right? In United States, we get in trouble. There's some pushback about our our best swimsuit bodies award and our best in pageantry, which is around the corner. So we're actually going to change it this year to best fitness or best. It's something like that. I don't remember. I don't have my notes in front of me, but because of the backlash last year. So I remember I can only imagine if we said sexy body award, the kind of upheaval that would be. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Roasted. Whoever did it would be roasted. Well, anyway, so she competed in 2013, and then in 2014, she was selected once again to compete. This time, she was one of 40 contestants, but less contestants did not mean less competition, because after nearly capturing a title in 2013, she only placed in the top 15, which is wild to me. But she did win Miss Philippine Airlines and She's So Jag Awards. So I think with a lot of the international pageants, they have a lot of sponsored awards. So she won a couple of those, but her placement was met with controversy.
Yeah. And commentators wondered if the onstage question portion of the competition had a role to play in her not placing. She was asked in Tagalog by the Filipino judge, Senator Sonia Anagara, and he asked, and this is a rough translation, it's like, what is an important lesson for women in the world?
And her answer, and she responded in Tagalog, was kind of like, again, a rough translation. Intuition is most important. Even if you are not sure what to do, you can expect your intuition. Many thought that answering in Tagalog cost her points from the international judges because they bring in judges from all over the world, and therefore any title that year, which is interesting.
Yeah, and this is a classic case, too, that we've talked about in other episodes that's worth repeating in a coaching moment, is that if you would have seen Pia's success, right, and then seen her headshot that you were competing against Pia, right? She was a model, she was an actress, and she was supporting her family based on her earnings in the world of entertainment. You would think for sure she would be a slam dunk when it came to the pageant, right?
And she was first runner-up the year before.
Right. And so first runner-up, top 15. And so I wonder, because the girls, I mean, if you see it, the numbers went down. It went from 50 to 40. Like, did 10 girls stop because she entered? I mean, I don't know, but I mean, the numbers slid down because she entered again. So it could have been like, oh, this is Pia's year, I'm not even going to try. And so I'm not saying that those 10 girls did it because I don't know who they are, but it could be a reality. So if someone's making you nervous, keep the story of Pia in mind. She had all the previous success and all the signs pointed to she should have done really well, but she just made top 15.
Yep, happens all the time.
Yeah. So in 2015, Pia was selected to compete in the pageant for a third time, and I was surprised to hear that the numbers went down again, as there were only this time 34 contestants. And again, I'm like conspiracy theorist here, but it could be because she competed again.
Maybe. And this time she not only won a title, she won the highest scoring title of the pageant, Miss Universe Philippines. She also won the Miss Cream Silk Award again. I think that's a sponsored award. And during the question and answer portion of the pageant, she was asked by then Cameroon Sur Representative Lenny Robredo, social media is now a very powerful tool in communication. Can you tell us your thoughts about internet censorship? And I don't think she answered in Tagalog this year, Stephen, but what did she say?
Yeah, she said, I think that we should be careful about what we post online, especially our thoughts and our opinions, that we don't hurt anybody, especially selfies. We have to be careful with what we post, especially in our bodies, in our faces. So always think before you click. And according to Rappler, Pia said of her win, I was first runner-up in 2013, and I didn't make it last year. Now I finally did. It was a long journey getting here. I'm not going to waste this.
And this is a huge coaching moment for me because we see contestants compete year after year for the same title. And I love that phrase, I'm not going to waste this. So for those listening, I want you to either pause us now, or I want you to take some time after you listen to the full episode. And I want you to make a plan if you don't already. If you do, maybe we'll give you some homework assignment. But for me, when I work with clients, I encourage them to pick 3 of the highest level goals that they want to achieve when they win their dream title. And I don't want them to pre-qualify them. So if it's like, okay, I want to appear on the Today Show. Okay, great. That's your goal. If you want to go to Monaco and be an ambassador for the Grand Prix of Formula One racing, write that down, whatever those 3 are, and don't censor them. And then we say, okay, what's the first step that we have to do to get you there? And it's maybe, okay, do I send an email to the Formula One representative in the US and say, I'm working on this. How can I help promote the races in the US or the drivers in the US? Or, I mean, I'm getting very granular here with this example, but you get the idea. It's aim high and then start today taking those baby steps to get there. So in Pia's words, you don't waste this opportunity.
Yeah. And it's so clutch that you physically write it down. And not hold it in your mind. You need to write it down, and the deadline is kind of built in because you know roughly when you're going to give your title up. So you got a year to accomplish it. So a deadline is kind of already built in, but yeah, writing it down is clutch. Anything significant I've ever achieved in my life has been because of a goal that I've already written down before I achieved it. So you've got to see it in your mind and write it down before you ever achieve it.
For sure.
So Pia then, she went on to compete at the 2015 Miss Universe pageant, which was the 64th Miss Universe pageant. There were 80 contestants that year, which, I mean, if my memory serves me correctly, I feel like that was one of the biggest numbers that they had.
Yes, I think it was. And she was not fazed by that at all. She was called in the top 15, the top 10, and then the top 5. And during the first onstage question, because they've had multiple onstage questions in the past few years. Pia was asked by host Steve Harvey, earlier this year, there was a controversy in the Philippines about the United States reopening a military base in your country. Do you think the United States should have a military presence in the Philippines?
And Pia answered, she said, I think that the United States and the Philippines have always had a good relationship with each other. We were colonized by the Americans, and we have their culture and our traditions even up into this day. And I think that we're very welcoming with the Americans, and I don't see any problem with that at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's a very political answer, and she handled it no sweat.
Yep. Perfect.
So that landed her and Ariadna Gutierrez, Miss Colombia, and Olivia Jordan, Miss USA, in the top 3. And for the final onstage question, the top 3 contestants were asked the same question by Steve. And it was, why should you be the next Miss Universe? So we always say, remember, make sure that you know your answer to why should you be the next queen? Why do you want to be the next queen? Why do you stand out? All those basic questions that you will very likely get. I mean, this is point blank right there.
Yeah. And Pia answered, she said, to be a Miss Universe is both an honor and responsibility. If I were to be Miss Universe, I would use my voice to influence the youth, and I would raise awareness to certain causes like HIV awareness that is timely and relevant to my country, which is the Philippines. I want to show the world, the universe rather, that I am confidently beautiful with a heart. Thank you.
And so begins every contestant in the Miss Universe organization using the phrase confidently beautiful in their interview, which is a pet peeve of mine, but Pia set the standard. Yeah,
and I feel like, too, like to be Miss Universe is both an honor and a responsibility. I feel like that line, too, like it's both an honor and a responsibility is becoming more common, too.
Well, I think because the phrase, I know this is a job, is getting tired, that people are trying to find new ways to really explain that without coming out and saying it. But again, this was 4 years ago now. So Pia really was like ahead of the game, on top of it, killing it.
Trailblazer. So then Miss USA, Olivia Jordan, was named second runner-up, leaving Pia and Gutierrez as the final 2. Then Gutierrez was initially announced as the winner of Miss Universe 2015 and was crowned by the outgoing Miss Universe 2014, Paulina Vega, who also won as Miss Colombia.
And it seemed as if Colombia had brought home back-to-back Miss Universe crown as a result. However, I still get cringy as I talk about it. As Gutierrez was waving a small Colombian flag in celebration, Steve Harvey came back on stage and he announced that there had been a mistake. He misread the results card and mistakenly announced Gutierrez as the winner. And Pia was actually Miss Universe 2015.
Oh, I know.
Oh,
and that,
gosh, it still kills me.
I know. And like the moment became even more awkward as Pia made her way to the front of the stage. And I always think about Paulina in this, right? Because she crowned, right, her friend, I mean, I'm assuming that they're friends, from Colombia. And she was probably like so happy. And then like a former Miss Colombia had to take the Miss Universe crown off of the reigning Miss Colombia and then put it on like Miss Philippines. And like Colombia and Philippines are very much rivals. Like Colombia, Philippines, Venezuela, they're very much rivals in the beauty pageant world. So, and like they talk so much trash to each other on social media, and they just like, I mean, go back and forth, and we see it on our channel a lot, and it's wild. So, I mean, poor Paulina in that is like so uncomfortable, and then you have Pia too. Like Pia was kind of, that had to have been a blender of emotions. And the same for Gutierrez, you know, for all that stuff to happen. But you can see the whole moment on YouTube if you've never watched the Steve Harvey flub up. But so Pia Win gave the Philippines its 3rd Miss Universe and the first one in 42 years.
I'm going to watch it 45 times today. Like, I have seen it before, and now that this YouTube link is right in front of me, I'm going to watch it a million times. I'm going to watch it over and over again today because I still can't believe it.
Yeah, it was an infamous moment in pageant history.
Well, controversy has always surrounded it too. Like, some critics believe that the move was a publicity stunt due to like the abnormal amount of airtime left at the end of the broadcast compared to previous broadcasts and broadcasts since. And I am not putting my tinfoil hat on completely, but it's definitely suspicious that there were like 4 minutes left when Pia was crowned, when every pageant I've ever watched, it's like they get crowned, they do the walk, they get bombarded by their friends, and they're done.
Right.
And then the network literally cuts it off.
Right. I mean, and Steve Harvey took the heat, but then he came out like even, I don't know, I think it was like maybe last year. He's like, listen, I've taken a lot of heat for this, but like, here's what really went down. And I've heard a few sides of this. One, because as a commentator, I hear that like you don't really read the cards. It's kind of a props for television because everything is like on the teleprompter. But so the story I heard originally was that it said like second, first, and then winner. And because Steve Harvey is the first pageant ever, he like, instead of like, we know it to be first runner up and then winner, he saw like first place. So I heard that story. And that was kind of behind the scenes. A friend of somebody who was a teleprompter person, they just put, third, second, first, and then winner. And he read, and first place is, and then said it out loud. So that was one. And then when he came out, he said that the teleprompter said something about like read the cards, but then they had third, second, first on the card. But then the winner was like in the top left-hand corner and his thumb was over it. So like where he was holding the card, and he was like, it was small and up into the corner, and so they just handed me the card, right? And so he was just holding the card, and regardless of where the winner thing was placed, his thumb was over it. So he again just saw first, second, or third place, second place, first place, and he didn't see the actual winner. So either way, he took the brunt of it, but I don't really feel like they set him up for success. And I feel like too, wasn't this the first year that IMG took over?
Oh, I don't know.
I'm thinking it was, because I feel like Donald Trump just sold it too, which also kind of played into the controversy. Like, hey, this is the first time that they took over. And Donald Trump wasn't a part of it. So some people are like, Donald Trump should still own it. It was better. And other people were like, they were using this as a publicity stunt. So either way, there's a lot of controversy around it and like what actually happened. But that's
what does your gut tell you, Stephen? I'm very curious. Like, what if you really what do you think happened? All those situations presented.
Yeah, all those situations. I genuinely just think that, in a pageant, there's a lot of crazy things that are happening backstage, and I feel like the Miss Universe organization probably did write it out in the card, and they probably did third, second, first, and all that. But I don't feel like there was any ill intent behind it. I don't feel like it was staged for controversy or anything like that. It's too big of a gamble, like, to risk your brand on it, because if you're really staging something for controversy, a small group of people need to know about it so that you can bounce it back and forth, right? And so there's just too many potential things that could go wrong with all the negative backlash, and they really did get a lot of negative backlash.
What about the time left? How do you explain that?
The time left is kind of easily, I feel like it's somewhat easily explainable, because time left could be sponsors pulling out of the pageant. So like those commercials being aired. So just like one or two commercials aren't being posted. So you could have the extra time there. There are so many moving factors in a reality show. And that's basically what it is. It's a reality show that, the minutes could be less there. Plus Steve Harvey, this being his first pageant ever, he could have sped it up more, and just nervous jitters, so I feel like the time left, there's so many different variables that it could be the time left that I just don't really see it. But, I do understand the allure of having something that's controversial, like this conspiracy theory, because it's just kind of fun to ponder and kind of put the pieces together. But I don't really feel like there's anything like that behind it.
Well, I did quickly look up when IMG took over, and you're correct. It was, in fact, the first Miss Universe that IMG managed the pageant.
Got it. Yeah.
So it could have been a learning experience for the timing for them, too.
Yeah, completely. There's a lot of moving parts there. And, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah,
right.
So let's talk about Pia as Miss Universe.
Okay, so she hit the ground running as Miss Universe, and on January the 21st, 2016, she traveled to Bali, Indonesia to shoot a commercial for C1000, a vitamin brand which is available in, you guessed it, Indonesia.
And 2 days later, she arrived in the Philippines for a week-long homecoming celebration, visits to Manila, Makati, Pasay, Quezon City. I don't know if I got any of those right.
It sounded beautiful.
Right. confidence takes you everywhere. She also made courtesy calls to the Congress of the Philippines, Senate of the Philippines, and the Palace. And on February 1st, she arrived in San Francisco to fulfill her duties as Inside Edition special correspondent for Super Bowl 50. And while there, she was reunited with Janine, who was the first runner-up to Miss Universe 2012, who was also from the Philippines. And it's funny, I can't remember every contestant that competes, but I remember Janine clearly. She had like a silver metallic dress, hair in a ponytail. Do you remember her, Stephen?
Yeah, I do actually. Mm-hmm.
I like couldn't believe when I saw the name. I was like, oh my gosh, I like could picture her immediately.
Yeah,
Just crazy.
So to give kind of some behind the scenes, I have a friend, media correspondent. First name's Megan, but she hosted that with Pia Wurtzbach, and she said from like start to finish, she was workaholic. Just like really went in, rolled up her sleeves, served, did like just put in her all into serving, and was there to like the very end. And I think that that's really nice that she was just able to really just put her feet forward and just keep walking. So
it says a lot about her.
Yeah, it does. So on February 28, 2016, she then traveled to Toronto, Canada to deliver a speech against bullying at the Speakers Forum for the International Students of Language Academy of Canada, wherein she shared some of her childhood experiences as a victim of bullying. During her stay in Canada, she was reunited with Miss Universe Canada 2015, Paulina Nuez Valdez, and she also met and gave advice to contestants of Miss Universe Canada 2016.
And she went back to the Philippines again in March for an unannounced visit, so like a surprise, take care of some personal things, including renewing her passport, charity works, and film a commercial for a Philippine airline. And she met and gave advice to the candidates of Binibining Filipinas 2016 during their press presentation, which must have meant a lot to her, knowing that she had gone through that experience 3 times.
Yeah. And then, so Pia's farewell speech and walk at the Bini Binging Filipinas 2016 was the Miss Universe Philippines 2015, trended at social media with enormous hits. The video of her farewell speech was posted by Rappler.
And a month later, she traveled to Machala, Ecuador to help the victims of the recent earthquake that took the lives of at least 600 people. And she was welcomed by the mayor of Machala to the city and was named an honorary volunteer of the Red Cross, where she was invited to participate in the global appeal and raise resources to build 6,000 homes for the earthquake victims, which says a lot because we just heard that she traveled to Canada, spoke to a forum about bullying. We heard that she went back to the Philippines for parades and filming commercials. She literally has done it all in her year and receiving this volunteer award. So I think all of her life experience, and we talked about like this not being a traditional road, prepared her to be this multifaceted Miss Universe in a way that many Miss Universes before her were not able to fulfill.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we just rattled off 4 or 5 countries that she just skipped across and made appearances and like visiting the palace. So the opportunities of becoming a Miss Universe, Miss USA, Miss, insert your country are tremendous. And it can really open up massive opportunities, which we're continuing to see in the life of Pia today. So
yeah.
In June of 2016, Pia represented the Philippines in the Miss Universe organization in a high-level meeting of the United Nations that aimed at ending AIDS. So in her capacity as Miss Universe, Pia visited Indonesia, Canada, Peru, Ecuador, the Cayman Islands, Thailand, Panama, and the United Arab Emirates. Gosh, thank you, English teacher, for not helping. Singapore and several other cities across the United States and her native country, the Philippines.
And as a parting gift on her official photo shoot, Pia was granted access to the elusive Mikimoto crown, my favorite crown of all time. And she crowned her successor, Iris, at the 65th Miss Universe pageant in January in the Philippines, which I can't imagine how surreal that was, giving up your title in your home country. Oh my gosh, where they just revere her.
I know. I think she had like 2 parades. They had like 2 parades for her because there were so many people, and like the parade line was so long they had to split it up into different days. So yeah, it's been wild. But on January 29, 2017, Pia revealed that she had signed a contract with WME and /IMG's Universe division, where she will continue to work with the Miss Universe organization as an HIV/AIDS awareness advocate after her reign. It was also revealed that she would appear on the 5th cycle of Asia's Next Top Model as a guest judge on several episodes.
And I have a fun fact about Asia's Next Top Model.
Oh, okay.
So Yutsai, he is a judge on Asia's Next Top Model. He's also the primary photographer for the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. So if you don't know his name, you've seen his work. So he and Pia are like BFFs. And a million years ago, I was cast in this web series called Tressed to Impress. It was a Herbal Essences promo series to launch a new hair care line. And you can find it on YouTube, no big deal. And Yutsai was my photographer in that shoot.
Wow.
So, I mean, hair toss. I feel very cool today talking about that.
MBD.
Yeah.
That is really cool. And it's cool.
Yeah.
It is nice how interconnected the industry is, truly.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting me share that moment in the sun.
Love that. So in October 2017, she returned to ABS-CBN, which marked her comeback to showbiz. Like, she co-starred in Vince Ganda and Daniel Padilla in a film under productions of Star Cinema. The project served as her acting comeback after 6 years and her first film in more than a decade.
And the film, it was part of the Revenger Squad, served as one of 8 official film entries in the 2017 Metro Manila Film Festival. She won the New Movie Actress of the Year award and the 34th PMPC Star Award for movies for her performance. Very cool. And she is currently the host of World of Dance Philippines. And in collaboration with the Metro Channel, she also started a show called Pia's Postcards, born out of her love for traveling. And in her show, she interacts with global Filipinos, immerses herself in new cultures and the local life.
Cute. So although she's a practicing Roman Catholic and Marian devotee, Pia has openly supported views that are in variance with the Catholic Church teaching, particularly the distribution of birth control via full implementation of the Philippines' reproductive health law and recognition of LGBTQ rights in the Philippines.
And on Instagram, she declared her support for the LGBTQ community in light of the Orlando nightclub shooting, Pulse nightclub in 2016. And in December, she met with the Archbishop of Manila, Luis Tagle, for receiving like a personal like rosary from Pope Francis. I mean, she just traveled so much within the church, and being accepted and still being able to be outspoken. I feel like a lot of people are not able to find that balance.
Yeah, it's great. And Pia is an advocate for gender equality. And in 2017, Pia was named the UN AIDS Goodwill Ambassador for Asia and Pacific. In terms of her romantic life, Pia has tweeted that she intends to remain unmarried and child-free. Like, is this in perpetuity or just
I don't know. Maybe things change.
Yeah. So she's in a relationship with Filipino Swiss race car driver, and the two started dating in October 16th. But she's dating with apparently no end in marriage in sight.
I mean, they've been together for 3 years.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So if you want to be that, I mean, there's no coincidence here, but if you want to be that Formula One race car correspondent, like I talked about, Pia may be your first place to start. You might have some contacts. But she of course made history once again. I feel like she'll never stop making history in 2019, as she is the first ever Filipino to receive their own wax figure at Madame Tussauds in Hong Kong. And I've seen it and it looks incredible. Like, I can't believe how similar it looks to her. Have you seen it?
I saw it because we did a news article on it, and that's how I saw it, but I've not seen it in person. So that's pretty awesome. And so Pia's journey to the Miss Universe crown was anything but traditional. However, despite the obstacles, Pia pushed on to take home one of the most sought after titles in the world. She served her reign with the same humility and class that shone from the moment she was named the winner.
And when asked about how to handle events when things don't go as planned, Pia said, "Be stubborn with your goals, but flexible with your methods."
And if you've enjoyed this episode or other ones like it, please consider giving us a 5-star review. Or if you're watching this on our YouTube, or if you're listening to it on Pandora, or anywhere that you hear it, please give us a 5-star review. It might seem like a small action, but it really does help us continue the show and help us put together the time of like piecing all this together, doing the research and all the things that go in behind the scenes of running a podcast. So thank you so much.
Want to become a part of pageant history? Create a free contestant or business profile on pageantplanet.com to unlock hidden features and connect with other experts throughout the world.